Hey everyone, Wandering Bard here, and this is it. It's been about 10 months since I released the Lightning character analysis, and that video ended up completely changing the entire trajectory of my YouTube channel. I've been doing analyses of the rest of the main cast over the past year, and I really appreciate all of you who've been enjoying them, and I'm definitely planning to make more for other games too. But as 2023 is drawing to a close, I wanted to send off the 13 Trilogy character analyses with a video on Lightning's sister, Serah. Though I will say, analyzing Serah is not the easiest task. While she does appear in every game in the trilogy, we don't get much to work with for two of them. In Final Fantasy XIII, we see her almost exclusively in flashbacks, many of which are from Snow's perspective, and in those scenes, she's so overwhelmed by her fate as a l'Cie that we don't get much of her character beyond that. There is one really good scene we get of her, which is actually in one of Vanille's flashbacks, but we'll discuss it later. Meanwhile, in Lightning Returns, we get to have scattered conversations with Serah, but it's revealed later on that the Serah that we're talking to isn't actually her. It's a fake made by Bunavelza. That leaves us with Final Fantasy XIII-2, which has arguably the weakest and definitely the shortest main story in the trilogy. And while Serah is the protagonist of that game, in that she's the character through which we as the player discover and interact with the world, I would argue that from a thematic standpoint, Noel was more the protagonist than she is due to his relationship with Caius. So as I was trying to figure out where to begin with Serah, I decided to start here. In this scene in Lightning Returns, when Lightning first questions whether or not the Serah she's talking to is real.
Back before we made all those mistakes, before we started messing around with gods and FFXIII.
Was it all a mistake? Even the journey you went on with Noel?
Well, what else would you call it? We risked everything. But in the end, we couldn't save the future, and I died. If that's not a mistake, what is? That's why I have to get rid of it. Throw it all away.
When she said that, I didn't believe her. She'd always been able to accept hardship, fight through it, and be stronger for it. Lumina's words came back to me. She said the only fake I know is Serah.
So there's an interesting note here for those of us who fragment hunted in Final Fantasy XIII-2. If you go back to New Bodom 700 AF after finishing the main story, you find two fragments which are letters to Serah and Noel from their future selves. Serah's letter is upsettingly frightening. It describes her being alone in a dark place and scared, but it also says she has no regrets, that she's proud of the fight that she fought, and all she wants now is to be remembered after she's gone. So, to hear her say now that she felt her journey was a mistake is a very strong hint for us as the player that this Serah is not real. But what I mainly want to talk about is how Lightning describes her here as someone who was able to weather any hardship and be stronger from it. On the topic of hardship, I talked in the Lightning and Snow videos about how them being orphans shaped both of them as characters. And I find it easy to forget sometimes that Serah is also an orphan. She is Lightning's sister. They had the same parents, so they lost the same parents. But her being an orphan has shaped her character in less obvious ways. Notably, the biggest difference in her case is that unlike Lightning and Snow, she always had someone watching out for her. Whether it was her parents, or the FFXIII, or Lightning, or Snow, or as of XIII-2 the Nora gang, she has always been looked after. And that's not a bad thing at all. That is, or ideally it should be, pretty typical for most of us around her age. And having people there for you, looking after you and supporting you, is a very healthy thing in most instances. Notably, going back to that scene I mentioned before between her and Vanille.
Actually, I've been trying to keep something at a distance myself lately. Like what? Don't laugh, okay? It's a dream I had. A bad one. I dreamt I destroyed the world.
So she doesn't realize right now that dream is her focus. Her focus was to destroy the world.
It had me so scared, I tried to run away. But then, my boyfriend, he came chasing after me. That's when I understood. Point is, I have people I can count on. I'll make it through.
And yeah, the way she describes this is actually really healthy. There are things that are too big to face alone, in this case being a l'Cie, and having people that you know you can rely on is a beautiful thing. But this can also manifest in ways that are less healthy. Notably at the beginning of Final Fantasy XIII-2, the reason I harp on this scene is that she should not be helpless here. We later learn from LeBreau that after the fall of Cocoon, several people were able to do magic without the help of a fal'Cie, including Snow and Serah. This is why, when we meet Snow later on and we see him doing magic, she doesn't realize at first that he's become a l'Cie again. Going back now to this scene, the fact that she reflexively calls out to Lightning to save her rather than defending herself is not good, especially given that Lightning has been gone for 3 years now. Admittedly, she had just had what turned out to be a prophetic dream about Lightning, so it does make a little sense, but it still does point to her having very little agency of her own right now. And that's why I love how Noel is introduced in the story, not because he saves her, but because of what happens right after that.
Get up, Serah.
You were in my dream. I saw you.
Save it for later. Can you fight?
If I have to?
You're gonna have to.
In my Noel Christ video, I said that I didn't mind the whole Serah-Noel ship from her POV too much, and this scene is exactly why that is, or at least why I love Noel being in her life, because Noel gives her exactly what she needs right now, which is, I'll help you, but I won't fight your battles for you, and that is something nobody else does. When we look at Snow and the Nora gang, especially during Final Fantasy XIII, their style of looking after someone is generally to say, stay back, I've got this. In particular, Snow has a habit of taking over situations he's involved in, and there are times when that is a good thing. Notably, during the Purge when he and the gang tried to rescue the Purges, it would have been terrible if they'd expected or demanded that civilians fight with them. And I absolutely want to make clear that Snow does not try to keep Serah down to make her helpless or dependent on him. The few times we see them together in XIII-2, he is happy and proud of her when he sees how much stronger she's become. But he works very hard to shield the people he loves by taking on the brunt of the burden himself. And what Serah needs right now, in order to both grow as a person and to go on this journey to find Lightning, is the exact opposite, which is what Noel gives her. And that sets her on a good path to growth.
No. You know, I started this journey hoping to find my sister. But now, I want more. I want to save the future.
Growth really begins for her when she has a goal besides Lightning. Because in the beginning of XIII-2, Lightning was all she focused on. She talked constantly about her, she went with Noel only to find her, and even doing things like fighting Atlas or resolving the paradox in Erba was only to advance that mission. It's not until the end of that second story arc when she learns how much more there is at stake, that the paradoxes are part of a plot by Caius to change the future to one of destruction. And she, Noel, and the Academy are the only ones who can do anything about this. And she really rises to the occasion, because not only does she embrace the idea of saving the future, she doesn't do so out of obligation. It's not a, well, something has to be done and I'm the only one who can do it, so... She actively wants this. If the future is in danger and needs protection, she wants to be a part of that. She's not willing to sit on her hands anymore. And we get a reinforcement of that during the next story arc when she finally realizes that Snow has become a l'Cie.
Please don't leave me. I can't lose you over and
It'll
over.
be okay. Heroes never die.
But how?
I did realize when writing this script that I made an entire deep dive video on Snowvilliers, and I never mentioned him becoming a lessee again, except briefly during the Lightning Returns bit when I mentioned the possibility of him becoming a Sith. Whoops. The thing is, in my defense, the game didn't really give much detail on how that happened. One of the fragment transcripts from the Graviton cores mentions him wanting to become stronger, strong like he was when he was a lessee, in order to rescue Vanille and Fang from Cocoon's pillar. There's a short story in Final Fantasy XIII-2 fragments after that tells a different tale. Something about a Kakutar fallacy and Snow seeing a vision of Serah dying, but we get none of that in-game. Noel does figure it out though when he surmises that Snow likely became a lessee again to protect someone. After all, Snow wouldn't give any cares about consequences to himself if it meant protecting the people he loves. And Serah finally has enough.
That's it. I've decided. Snow is always putting himself in danger, trying to save others. So, I'm going to save him. When I became a lessee, he did everything he could to help me. Now it's my turn.
It's such a small moment, but there's a huge payoff from this down the line when Caius kills her in the Void Beyond. I should mention that people who die in the Void Beyond don't actually die. They wake up instead in a dream world built on the wishes of their heart. So Serah wakes up in a place where her dreams have all come true. She is married now to Snow, Lightning is living with them, and everything is perfect, except Noel isn't there. And even when she realizes that this world isn't real, she's tempted to accept the dream as reality and stay there. And ultimately, the reason she doesn't, that she chooses to keep going, is the same one she gave in Sunlight, which is that everyone else is doing their part. Lightning was in Valhalla, Hope and the Academy were fighting to save Cocoon, even Snow was out there trying to save Vanille and Fang. So if she stayed, she'd be the only one not helping, and she wasn't content with that. And this is when Serah the hero is really established, when she maintains both her resolve and her selflessness and continues onward. And the game doubles down on this when she saves Noel from his dream world, and he explains that Serah's newfound gift of prophecy will likely kill her if she keeps going. But she doesn't stop. She keeps trying to make a better future, even if she won't live to see it. And that's beautiful.
I know the truth, Caius. I know that every time I change things, I lose a part of my life. But don't you see? I don't care. I'm here to protect the future. And I will!
You know, I talked in my Caius video about how Noel was the one who had an opposite ideal to Caius when comparing hope against despair, and he certainly has the history with Caius that gives that relationship a proper payoff. But I think this scene gives us an opposite ideal between Caius and Serah in that he expects her to be as selfish as he is. He's willing to prioritize his needs and what he insists are Yule's needs over the rest of the world, and he tries to reason with Serah from that same mentality. And I love the delivery on her response, because you can tell that, in spite of her generally easygoing nature, the thought of dying does frighten her. But she doesn't back down because she believes that the fate of the world is far more important than her life. And when she stays by her conviction, that's when she becomes a hero, and that's why she was able to die without regrets, which the fake Serah and Lightning Returns didn't understand. Speaking of which, I did talk at the beginning of this video about how we spent most of Lightning Returns talking to the fake Serah, but I love what we get of the real one during the ending because it really does wrap up both her and Lightning's character arcs. If I put on screen a scale of self-reliance, then Lightning began her arc here in a place of complete self-reliance. Serah begins on the other side in a place of near total reliance on others, and what I love is that in the end, both of them end up here.
Lightning. I'm here. I can fight too.
Good. I need your help.
And that is how to write a satisfying ending. Two satisfying endings, actually. Lightning and Serah were each always the reason for the other's adventures, and I love how this ending shows that the two of them rubbed off on and brought out the best in each other. Serah developed her own strength while maintaining her gentleness, and Lightning was able to let the walls down and become stronger for it. And honestly, I have no notes, there's not much more I can add after this, it's perfect. So that's the Serah video, and that is the end of the Final Fantasy XIII main cast videos. Thank you all again so much for watching these and for encouraging me to keep making them. They've been an absolute joy to make, and I'm already looking forward to getting to revisit the stories and characters of other games as well. Let me know in the comments who you'd like to see me analyze next, and be sure to subscribe while you're down there. We're so close to hitting 500 subs, and it means an awful lot when you do support. I'm also planning to do a 12-hour long livestream on New Year's Eve to ring in 2024, so be sure to come over and say hi, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks again, and I hope you have a good rest of your year and beyond. I'll see ya!
I got a question for you. Who's this Snow person? A boyfriend?
He's just this super cool guy, you know? He doesn't care about the way he looks, but that just makes him so much cooler.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great, I guess. Maybe we should...
And he's not just kind, he's reliable too. He always means what he says, and you can totally trust his word. I mean, he's my hero. Oh, and I know you're thinking no one's perfect. I know he has his flaws, and sometimes he makes me so mad, but I love that about him too. No other guy can compare to my hero.
I get it. Can we just get back to...
He has this amazing body, and his face is so handsome. He's tall and broad, and makes me feel so safe.
Oh, and even though he's big and tough, he can be so adorable. That's my Snow. You done asking?
I'm done. Yeah, thanks for all the detail.